Family Switch is now on Netflix. It stars Jennifer Garner, Ed Helms, Emma Myers, Brady Noon, and Rita Moreno. And it's directed by Mick G. If you haven't heard that name in a while, wake up. he's awake now. Somebody poked him and he woke up and he made a film. It does have audio description, and it's vaguely Christmas related. I mean, it takes place at Christmas time, but it's not heavy-handed Christmas, if that makes any sense. The film is just not all about the Christmas season. It's a body swap comedy. Yeah, I know. Another one. And this film knows, by the way, the best scene in this film is when they all realize the body swap has happened and they have this little exchange between the four of them. And they reference a bunch of body swap movies. But they're not referencing them like they watched the movies. They're referencing them as like, this has never happened before. And they casually, like, one of the kids says, this is freaky. And he's like, it's not like a kid has ever woken up as a grown man before. Somebody says, I feel like I'm going 13 going on, I feel like I'm 13 going on 30. Yeah, it's great, which is even better because Jennifer Garner's in this. This is not the first time where she's had to act like a child in an adult's body. So, kudos. Kudos to that scene. That was my hands down. I was like, well, if you're gonna repeat the same plot, beat the dead horse, then might as well acknowledge that you're doing it. What's even more disconcerting than the existence of this film is that it's actually based on an adaptation of a book. So whoever the original author was that wrote this book, do you have anything else better to do? Like, this was it? How did you get this picked up by a studio? Like, I feel like this could have been, I feel like AI could have written this. Like, honestly, this is not a complicated plot, but you wrote a whole book about this film? Why? Anyway, so somebody had to adapt a book to get here. I feel like I could have written this in an elevator while going up to a pitch meeting. Like, I feel like if I was going up to a studio and they were like, he's coming up to pitch us, what's he gonna pitch? I'd be like, I don't, it's a body swap, but it's the whole family this time. The whole family. Whole family's body swapping. Even the baby and the dog. Brilliant. Make that film. Thank you, sir. Thank you. You know, I feel like it doesn't really feel like it's that hard of a concept considering where the body swap genres have been before. Even Freaky Friday, the Jamie Lee Curtis, Lindsay Lohan film had that moment with the grandfather and the little brother where they like were staring down like, ooh, maybe in a sequel, you know, like maybe in Freaky Friday too. But yeah, it's and it's an obvious body swap. So it's like the genders stay the gender. So mom and daughter flip, dad and son flip, and then the baby and the dog flip, which is the most interesting thing, but they don't do that much with it. And it also doesn't make any sense because they didn't take the dog with them to the place where the body swap magic happens. So I don't understand how the dog becomes a vessel for body swapping. It just happens, I guess. Anyway, it's weird because, like, this is not a perfect film. It's weird. They're having fights and they're a family, they don't understand each other, and they squabble about things, and nobody gets along, and they all have their own little issues, but they're trying to get along, but their kids are off doing their own things. The daughter, played by Emma Myers, who is from Wednesday, she's Enid on Wednesday, in case you didn't know who that is, a very talented actress. She is looking at hopefully getting onto the national soccer team, maybe skipping college. She's a star soccer player, and there's a big game coming up with a recruiter. The son spends a lot of time in a virtual world because he doesn't like the world that he lives in. So he's always got like a VR headset on, and he's played by Brady Noon, who was Mighty Ducks Game Changers. For anybody who watched that series, I feel like he's grown up a little bit here. His voice is dropping. And then, of course, we have Jennifer Garner and Ed Helms as mom and dad. Mom is an architect. Dad was once going to be the member of a famous pop group, but he turned it down to have family. And they went on to massive success, and now he's like the band teacher at the high school. So, but he's gotten a whole bunch of other dads together, and they formed like a garage style rock band, and they have an opportunity to be on a show called So You Think You Can Rock. And so he's got an audition coming up. So he's basically Lindsay Lohan from Freaky Friday. Anyway, this film is weird. It's not necessarily the smartest film, and it has a hard time with its premise, which is that these people need to get to know each other and walk a mile in each other's shoes. I don't feel like that really happened equally for everybody. It's kind of a jumbled mess when you do this with 4 characters, plus also the baby and the dog. And the baby and the dog don't make any sense, because this whole film was about, like, learning, fix what is broken, I think is what Rita Moreno says. And what was broken between the baby and the dog? Like, did the baby and the dog have problems? It's very weird. So, I think they just did it for humor purposes, but there was no actual, there's no actual reason for it. They just did it because they were like, what would be funny? And yeah, it is. It's cute for a few minutes, but they don't really do much with it. They just, there's a couple, little, things that may or may not make you giggle, depending on what your brand of humor is. It also may make you roll your eyes. Totally fair. It's sort of their own thing. The main journey is the 4 actors that can actually speak, doing their things and living their lives, and kids, and the opportunity for Ed Helms and Jennifer Garner to act like kids, and for these 2 very talented young actors. This film would not work without Emma Myers and Brady Noon. I'm sorry, but you could interchange Jennifer Garner and Ed Helms with other people who are down to clown, but you need the right child actors to be able to pull this off. And Emma Myers and Brady Noon are absolutely the right. The work that they've put out so far has been great. I've noticed both of them. I recognize them both by name. I did not need to click on their names on IMDb, which says a lot for child actors. I actually knew who they were. I was like, oh, damn, we actually picked, and it was such a nice change of pace, to be able to have solid youth performances in this. Of course Jennifer Garner's good at this. She's already done the damn thing before, so it was a no-brainer. Actually, it's really weird that she's in this. I would have picked somebody else. I love Jennifer Garner to death. I love her all the way back since Alias. I think was when I was really like, let's go Jennifer Garner. But it's weird for her to be in another film like this. I just have to acknowledge that. It would have been nice to see somebody else who has maybe the same style as her, but has yet to be in a film like this, instead of drawing that direct comparison to 13 Going on 30. But of course she was good in this, because she was good in 13 Going on 30. So, it's just that Mick G is he's such a, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's just, I don't know, he just puts out the most typical, anybody could do this, no skill required, type of films. He has no flair. There's nothing that you can look at a McG film and be like, oh, that was McG. You know, I feel like there used to be, but then he gave up. He used to be trying to do stylized action films back when he, was reinventing the Charlie's Angels. Now he just does films like this where it's just like, what are you trying to say as a filmmaker? Anything? Are you just working? You just got to pay that mortgage, and because your name is fairly recognizable, it turns a Netflix movie that could have just been some random release into something that feels a little bit more like an event. That feels a little bit more like this could have gone to theaters, because it could have. This is of the quality. This is not your typical, even though Netflix would call this one of their Christmas movies, it's not really. This one does not heavily rely on Christmas in its plot. You could have taken Christmas out of this film and it would have happened. So it doesn't need Christmas to happen. It just happens to be around Christmas time. It could have also happened to be around Easter, been an Easter film, And Christmas is not that entrenched. They don't have to save Santa Claus or anything like that in this film. So it's what it is. What it is. Anyway, so Family Switch it's pretty average for what it is, but where it wins is like in most of the films where this is involved, child actors, the children are good, and that is such a huge selling point. In a lot of the films where they've talked about it before, where it's been an adult moving into younger bodies, a lot of times the kids have to be good. Even if you look back to Big, the actor that played his best friend that was there for him, that hung out with Tom Hanks, he did a great job. Even though we didn't really visit, because we couldn't, because he had transformed the younger version of himself that much, the best friend that hung out with him was a great child actor for his period. That was a great performance. And in every other film that we have, everybody from Lindsay Lohan, obviously in Freaky Friday, all the way through have just they've been good performances. Zac Efron is perfect for 17 again, it just works when you have the right talent in the part. So kudos to Emma Myers and Brady Noon. All right to Jennifer Garner and Helms. I think they did fine. So the film doesn't really resolve what it needs to resolve in time to resolve it. So it has sort of like post resolutions where things work out for the parents, and then the film swaps, is kind of a spoiler. Things work out for like half of the family, and then they're like, well, we solved the problems of our family. And I'm like, I think your kids' lives are ruined though. And then like afterwards, they're like, oh, we should probably fix our kids' lives too, because that was the point of switching back. So it's kind of just a cluster of a movie in that regard. I've definitely seen worse this year. The first movie that came to mind when I was like, what do I feel like, was the Reese Witherspoon Ashton Kutcher movie Your Place or Mine, which was just kind of like, we had done this before, but this was very serviceable, and the talent is what really helped sell that film. In this case, basically the same thing. We didn't rewrite the genre here. McG doesn't do anything that interesting with it, but the actors are what make it interesting. Definitely not the choices made around them. Poor Rita Moreno. She's a legend. She's playing like the old cursed lady here. Anyway, it's just I'm gonna give Family Switch a B-. Suppose I should say something about audio description. The one thing about this film that could have gone horribly awry, it was trying to figure out who's who. And they do a really good job. Once the switch happens and they're running around bumping into each other going like, who the fuck is who? After that, they make the clear determination to stick with the physical soul of the person who is in the body. So the name changes, so that way we know that the character is inside of a new actor, instead of trying to just constantly be like, you know, Jess, who looks like, I can't remember, Claire or whatever her name was, the daughter. You know, it's, instead of doing that, they just went ahead and swapped, so that you're following the character in a new body, which I thought was the right way to do that. Could have been a cluster trying to constantly explain this film in every single scene of who is in whose body, but they just made the choice after the swap to just swap the names. So I thought that was the right choice. Anyway, yeah, it's fine because the talent is really invested in the film. It's not fine because McGee knows what he's doing. Or because this is a highly original script. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I do have a website, MacTheMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on X, Threads, or Instagram, Mac the Movie Guy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it for me today. I will review something else and see you guys on the other side.